Hello and welcome to Lankwest Fest. And we're outside where it's very well ventilated. Vento, in wind in Italian. So I'm half Italian, so vento, ventilation. We're going to talk about ventilation inside the home. So we're at Tread Gold. And right, very simple question, James. Welcome, by the way. We have ECD architects here, James, Lizzy. What is ventilation?
Ventilation is ensuring that we have enough fresh air to breathe and basically getting rid of all the nasties that are build up inside our homes unless we ventilate properly. So opening our windows, that's the most basic way, natural ventilation, but also mechanical ventilation, extracting that stale air, particularly from kitchens and bathrooms, the moist air that we need to get rid of. That's the most important aspect of ventilation.
Yeah, simple, important. But what are the problems that you have encountered with ventilation on the estate? We have some blocks which are very old. Some flats have not been seen 2 years. I mean, I've got, the little old things in the corner that you pull. They get so. I never know how to clean them. So, what are the problems that ECD are facing as regards ventilation, and how can you encourage us to get involved?
A lot of the residents' priorities were around ventilation, or particularly about mould, because if we don't ventilate homes properly, often that moisture in the air can condense on cold surfaces and lead to mould forming. And at the moment, as Robert says, you've probably got something like this somewhere on the outside of your home, and on the inside in your kitchen and in your bathroom, hopefully, there's a little mechanical extract fan, and that's pulling air from inside to the outside, but they often get clogged up, and also they don't run for long enough or even at all, so they're not actually able to do their job of pulling out the stale air. And one of the other problems with that system is that you've heated up all your nice warm air inside, and then you're just chucking it outside, so you're wasting a lot of energy and money on that energy by chucking the cold air outside. So one of the things we'd like to do around the estate is improve the ventilation system and have not just mechanical ventilation like we do at the moment, but mechanical ventilation with heat recovery. So we chuck out the stale air, but we use the heat in that air to heat incoming fresh air and then supply that nice warmed fresh air to your living spaces.
Okay, I have a question here from someone. Right. About ventilation in my small bedroom, which has my water tank and heating tank in it. Every single time I run a bath, my bedroom's windows start to steam up. How do I stop that from happening? Because it's so cold, it's too cold to open my bedroom windows during the winter time. So this is something I've heard from a lot of people. With small flats, greater problems?
I think not necessarily small flats, but a smaller flat per person. So if you've got more people living in a home, you've got more cooking, more showering, more people giving off moisture as they go about their daily business. So the more people you've got in a small space, the more likely you are to have problems with condensation. And in that particular case, maybe insulating the water tank could help so that the water tank's actually heating the water, not all of the air in the room. But also new windows might help, because at the moment, probably the inside of the window is really cold, and so water condenses on it. But probably, hopefully, in the refurbishment, we'd rearrange things so that you don't have a hot water tank in your bedroom, because that doesn't sound like a great arrangement.
Interesting. And there's something that's come up, and it's obviously very topical. It's generally acknowledged that COVID-19 is an airborne virus. Ventilators keep the air clean. Would a good ventilator improve the situation, reassure people that their home is free of this virus? Obviously, this is something that is going to come up and has come up. How would you answer that, James?
I think it's important to say first, really, that there is no ventilation system that would prevent COVID or prevent it being transmitted. However, good ventilation will play a part in reducing the chances of it. So we're obviously stood outside, we've got excellent ventilation, much reduced chance of transmission of COVID. If we've got good ventilation in the home, then we've got improved or reduced transmission risk. but there is no magic machine, if you see what I mean.
As a gardener, I'm encouraging people to have plants in their home, right? I've got a thing called Plant for Every Home. I'm encouraging everyone to have a plant because plants create fresh air. They're also, we spend a lot of time indoors. They're beautiful to have. What's your feeling, right? And with plants, do they help?
I believe plants are pretty good at regulating humidity. And often in the winter, when we've got our heating on, we end up actually drying out our air inside quite a lot. So having plants around that we're watering is quite a good way of making sure that the humidity doesn't get too low, because that can also be a risk and it causes dust mites and things. So the plants, I think, are quite good for balancing it alongside all the other positives that Robert's mentioned.
And pollution. I highly recommend the mother-in-law's tongue, otherwise known as a snake plant. You know, that was a really interesting discussion. Thank you so much, ECD Architects. Now, how can we keep in touch with you? Keep this conversation going, because I know there'll be other people now that will be wanting to ask questions. So finally, I hand over to you, Lizzy, to tell how we can keep in touch with you.
Well, do post questions in response to this video on Instagram, but also I think through your block reps or through the Residents Association possibly. And we're also going to be running some workshops with each of the buildings on the people in the buildings on the estate. So that'll make a good place for a smaller group discussion about some of the questions that have maybe been raised by these videos.
Thank you very much to both of you. A final word from James.
Finally, just to say ventilation is absolutely crucial. We can't do this work without ventilating our homes properly. It's absolutely essential for our health and well-being, and it will be part of the project and the scheme, we hope, going forward.
Ventilate. Keep safe. Thank you.